Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to talk briefly about thesis statements, exactly what they are and how to use them in composition classes. Now, before I get into my ideas on thesis statements, I want to make a big disclaimer here. Always discuss this idea with your faculty member. Discuss with them exactly what their expectations are, because despite there being some agreement on what thesis statements are, some faculty members will allow for variations on this. Also, the thesis statement is often determined by the purpose of the paper. Generally speaking, when we think about thesis statements, we think of them as arguments. We usually think of them as arguments. So if you are writing an essay that is purely informative, almost encyclopedic in nature, you may not need a traditional thesis statement. Plus, there's often a difference between an implied thesis and a stated thesis. In more advanced classes, implied thesis statements may be acceptable. In more advanced writing, implied theses may be acceptable, but generally speaking, particularly in composition courses, we want to see stated thesis statements. So most of the essays you are going to be asked to write, most of the prompts that you will be responding to in a composition course will ask you to take a position. So most of the prompts in a composition and most of your humanities courses will ask the student to take a position that they can support with evidence. That position is your thesis. When I first started learning how to teach composition classes, one of the things that was taught me was a formula for thesis statements. The formula for thesis statements is subject plus opinion. So if you think about a thesis statement as a single sentence that explains what the subject you are writing on is, and then what your opinion on that subject is, it makes it pretty easy to put these two things together. You can almost think about it as a compound or complex sentence, sometimes a compound complex sentence, that expresses what the main topic is and the opinion on the question in the prompt that you are given. So let's look at a model prompt quickly. Let's say you are working in one of my courses and you come across the prompt. Let me see if I can find the file real quick here. You come across a prompt for Comp 2, and that prompt is, I'm going to pull it up here and give it just a minute for Word to load. Sometimes these things take a minute. We'll go to the prospectus prompt for a Comp 2 course. So once you get to the prospectus stage, you have the prospectus is a minimum 5-paragraph essay, blah, blah, blah. But in it, the student must argue for the viability of their topic choice. So in the context of this class, the student is selecting a narrow topic based on something they have read. once they come up with an idea, then they have to go in and start researching. And most students have already developed a research journal for this class. Comp 1 students wouldn't have that same sort of requirement. They would just be coming up with a thesis initially based on reading and experience. So you're going to develop this thesis, and this thesis is going to state something along the lines of, in this case, the prompt is asking for the student to argue for the viability of their topic. So in order to respond to that with a proper thesis statement, I would need to talk first about what my topic is. That's my subject. So let's say my topic is the importance of writing instruction. Writing instruction. There. Now I have my subject. Now I need my opinion. Is a necessary component of any professional's education. This is my opinion based on what the prompt says. So you have to look at the prompt, and from the prompt you're going to make some choices. So based on that prompt, I develop my own topic. In this case, it'd be writing instruction, and I come up with an opinion based on it, and this is telling my reader why I think it's important, which is what the prompt is asking me to do. Now notice I didn't just say something as basic as writing instruction is important. I actually put it into my own words, and I gave myself some focus so I would know what to write about in my paper, because you need to make sure the thesis statement also gives your reader a hint of what is to come in the paper. So in the past, you may have been asked to write a three-part thesis, what people have called three-part theses. And this would be something like writing instruction is a necessary aspect of a student's education because they will write in their future jobs. Writing helps students express themselves better in speech, and writing an essay helps students learn to think about issues in a logical and rational manner. So as you can see here, this is what would be called a three-part thesis, and it's very similar to the one we have above. So we have writing instruction, which is our subject again. We have our opinion, which is this part again, which is just basically another way of phrasing what we wrote before. But then we have this list. And this list is something that a lot of students still do when they get to college. But the truth is, you should not be making a list of points. If you look at the assigned readings for this section, particularly in whatever textbook you have, you may encounter a section, or whatever assigned videos, you may encounter a section on thesis statements. In there somewhere, there should be something along the lines that says a thesis statement cannot be a list of points, which is what a three-part thesis is. So what you have effectively done here by listing these points is each of those points is actually should be a topic sentence for the body of the paper. And it distracts, it makes your thesis wonky, it makes it overly wordy. So you want to simplify your thesis. So think, I thought I got rid of the highlighting. Let me fix that formatting real quick. The importance of formatting for notes even to help you understand what's going on. Think about the thesis as a simple statement or stance that the student will support in the essay by giving examples of credible evidence. So the thesis needs to be a simple sentence, not overly complex. Does that mean it's a 3-word sentence? No. But look at the difference between the first example I gave you there with the highlights and then that 3-part thesis, and think about which one is stronger. Now, another big part of this that students often do is they want to start their thesis with phrases like, I believe, I think, in my opinion. Those sorts of phrases are totally unnecessary. This is called unnecessary first person. And the reason it is totally unnecessary is because we know it is your beliefs because you are the author. We know it's your opinion because you are the author. The student should never be writing, in my opinion, writing instruction is a necessary component of any professional's education because we already know that's their opinion, and it's a much stronger tonal sentence without that. So another thing to keep in mind is that the thesis statement must be a statement. It should never be a question. Also, a thesis statement can't be a preference. It shouldn't be something like writing sucks or writing is no fun or writing is terrific. I totally enjoy writing, therefore it's important. That's not enough justification for an argument. And then there's basic things like grammatical structures to make sure your thesis statement. But there's also some major ideas that I want to get across before I wrap up this very quick video about thesis statements, is that there are some metrics we can use to test the validity of our theses statements. The first metric is it clear? Is it a clear argument? The second is it a complete sentence? And that's just basic grammar. There shouldn't be fragments in your essays at all. Is it an argument? Or are you making a fact statement? So, the sky is blue is not a thesis statement. It's a fact statement, right? You need something that is debatable, that you could argue either side on. If you're only capable of arguing one position, it is not really a thesis statement. And then the next thing, and this is the biggest thing, so I'm going to put it in bold, even though we don't normally use bold in MLA. And I'm going to put it all in caps because I really want you to understand the importance of it. Is it defensible? Any position that you present in a paper needs to have evidence that supports it. If there is no evidence to support it, if you can find no evidence to support that thesis statement, then you need to change your topic or change your position. And there's a great performance poem by one of my favorite poets called Taylor Mali, and I highly recommend that you look it up. If you're a dual credit student, you're going to have to look this up separately on YouTube outside of campus. It's called Like Lily Wilson Like. And I would look at this first 1-6 from the series Deaf Poetry Jam. Watch that video, and he makes a great point about the importance of being able to change your mind. A thesis statement is usually rooted in our beliefs, but as professionals, we want our beliefs to be rooted in evidence, solid quality evidence. No evidence, no examples, no thesis statement. So make sure you have that evidence. Make sure your position is defensible. All right, I hope you find this video educational and entertaining, and if you have any questions, email me.